Good morning. Thank you for joining me again in the barn. Ooh, I got a present this morning. A marker. Prep resistant skin marker. So this is what they use in surgery. Apparently they had an extra one. My mom threw it in with my gloves. Good morning. Today's going to be a little bit longer to wash her up. She's a little poopy. She must have found a nice warm cow pie to lay in last night, and those are always fun. It's not too terribly bad, but it's still like, come on, Apple. So last I left you, Apple was dealing with a little bit of ketosis. We were struggling with that, and it was difficult, but she's still here. We're still good. She struggled for quite a few days, actually. She finally figured out my propylene glycol in the molasses water trick and was like, I'm not drinking that. You got me. And then she figured out the putting it in the feed trick. So she's a smart cookie, and she got to the point where she's like, I'm not taking that stuff. So I tried. There's an old school trick of putting the propylene glycol in a wine bottle and then like using that to push into their mouth and kind of force them to drink it. No, either I totally just do not know how to do that, I'm not coordinated enough to do that, or I don't know, that's probably why. But it's like I had propylene glycol, and it's like a thin slime. It's thicker than water but thinner than slime, and it was everywhere. She's just like, and shaking her head. So it reminded me of like, we never had cable growing up, but I watched it occasionally of like Nickelodeon when they would have like this slime thing, and I was just like everywhere. It was just everywhere. Oh, it was bad. I'm like, well, that didn't work. So my last resort was to use a tube calf tube feeder. So we have this, you saw in my video, it's for giving calves electrolytes or whatever if they are sick and can't, or a week and can't drink. So we had that, and I was like, well, that's the last thing I have to get. I mean, the problem was it went too slow. So I got some in her, but before she was like not having it, and I was too worried about her flailing about and me getting it into her lungs and her aspirating it. Then I have a bigger problem. So I was like, okay, never mind. So I got her about half of the dose in her. So then that week I had to go somewhere. Don't remember why. But I went to the Amish store or Amish feed store. I think you're good, Apple. I think I got you all cleaned up. Wasn't that bad. Oh, maybe a little bit there. Anyway, went to this Amish store where he sells feed, and he's just such a cool guy. He's a little bit of a distance from me, so I don't always go there. I have a feed store in between that's closer, but this guy is so awesome. I really like him. And we were talking about it, so I went and I bought a drench. I got home and I realized it's really not big enough. I probably shouldn't have bought it. But it was like last resort. Oh my goodness, I don't want my cow to get worse. Anyway, so I bought that. But then he was telling me, we were talking about feed, and I was telling him that she didn't really like the 16% feed that I was giving her. She really liked the 12%, but I knew 16% had more protein, and my brain was just kind of like, I don't know, a little messed up, or I don't know. It focused on the wrong thing, I guess. And I said, but she loves the all stock, the 12%. And he was like, well, then give her that. I'm like, I know, but doesn't she need the extra protein for milk production? And he goes, just give her more of the 12%. The reason she likes it is because it has molasses in it, more molasses. For some reason, I was thinking that 16% still had molasses in it. And he's like, no, it doesn't. Well, that's why she was liking it. And so he's like, if you give her more of the 12%, you're going to increase her protein. Like he did all the math. He's a genius. He just sat there and was like, blah, 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 just whipping out the numbers. And he's like, see, if you give her instead of giving her 10 pounds of 16%, you give her 15 pounds of 12%, and yada, yada, yada. So I come home and I just increased her all stock feed and we continued to give her lots of apples, and she's been great. She hasn't had an issue. She's been back to eating normal. No problems. Her production's back up. Everything's good. So, yay. Sometimes, even though looking back, I'm like, well, duh, that makes sense. Sometimes your brain is just like hyper focused on one thing and you just can't see through that, I guess. I don't know. But lesson learned. We are about a month out. Well, he's not quite a month old. He was born on October 5th. And I just decided to hold off on milking for a while I was dealing with the ketosis and all that. And, or not hold off on milking, hold off on filming. So I posted last week's video was like a couple weeks ago that it really happened. Just fine, right? It's okay. It's all good. So now we're going to be back to weekly, as much as I can, videos. And let's see what else has happened. So we were doing really good with milk, getting a few gallons and everything, and it just plummeted. And I knew it wasn't ketosis this time. It was Mr. Johnny is a chunky little guy who likes all the milk. So we decided this week that we would start putting him in the stall at night. So he is now overnight. He stays in the stall so that I can get something in the morning because I was getting less than a gallon. And I'm like, dude, no. Oh, now she's going to be annoyed because the steer is in here now. They're just, cows are so ridiculous. They have an entire bunk of hay outside, but they like hers. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. But they have to come in while she's milking and try to eat the hay that she has. And she gets annoyed. It's just super fun. Anyway, so what do we got in here? Is this a steer? Yeah. It's tank or steer. Anyway, so yeah, we were getting like less than a gallon. This is not gonna do, buddy. You don't need all that milk. I mean, she's probably producing 9 gallons a day. He's just down in it. He's just crazy production or crazy eating. He's huge. He's huge. Okay, hold on a minute. I gotta kick this steer out. Oh, he is out. Where did he go? What the heck, Apple? Oh, you just kicked all of your hay out. Hold on. Well, eat your hay. Eat your hay. She's just in a mood today. She doesn't want her hay. Okay, so you might be able to hear Johnny in the background, occasionally because he's in the stall. The first night or the first morning I came out here, well, the dogs were barking super early in the morning, and so I'm like, half awake, trying to listening and what's going on. What are they barking at? And I could hear Apple just bellowing out there the first night that we had separated him. And I mean, she's just going crazy. And I'm like, the heck, she never does that, even when we separate. But I knew that, okay, it's the first night. She knows better, but, it's been a little bit since she's had a little calf. So it's been a year over. So, okay, whatever. So I got up early that morning, earlier than normal. Went out to milk. And he was like, I think he was trying to climb out of the stall. He was absolutely insane in there, just bellowing constantly. And literally the stall he was hitting the door. And I think he was climbing up, trying to he was making such a ruckus. And so looking there, and he's just the sweet little please let me out. I'm starving. And right now he's banging at the door, but I'm out here a little bit later than usual. So he's like, come on, I'm starving. But yes, first one, I was like, dude, chill out. And then when I did let him out, he ran right out the barn. Like, his stall is behind where I milk, and so he could, like, you open the door, there's Mom. He just ran right out the barn, ran into the pasture, and was like bellowing for Mom. Okay. I had to go feed her. She's being fed. Give her grain. She's just kind of I'm taking too long, I think. Anyway, so he was just going nuts, just bellowing. Oh, and then that's what I was left at. So he ran right out of the barn, and his mom's right here. I'm like, what are you doing? And he's just bellowing out there. And at that point, she's happy because she's got grain and she's been milked, and she's finally like, oh, thank goodness. By the way, we got 3 gallons the very next day. So he drinks like 2 gallons overnight if we let him. Crazy. And that's with leaving a whole quarter for him. So when I milk out, I'm off on a tangent, but when I calf share and they are separated at night, I don't milk her dry because that's just gonna, I feel it's gonna present problems because they're hungry. They're starving. They haven't eaten all night long, and so it goes right to her udder and is just bumping it and trying to get something out. So if there's nothing left, which, I mean, granted, she won't give me everything. She does hold up cream, but there's not a lot there. I fear that he's going to do damage to her udder, which, for whatever reason, our bull calves seem to be the ones that cut and teats and, do more damage. They're rougher. Shocking. I have mama boys. Boys are rougher? No way. Anyway, so he ran out, and finally he came back in and he found Mom and was like, oh my goodness, there you are. I've been looking everywhere for you. And he's just goofy like that. And it was all good. The next morning I come out here expecting him to be freaking out again. Nope. Look over there and he's just laying in the stall like, okay, I figured it out. All right, you'll let me know it. I'm fine. I didn't die last night. I'm good. So he's been good ever since. This morning, like, he's a little bit louder, but really not bad at all. Just letting me know that I can hurry up anytime now. He would like to eat. But I joke, he's like a meathead. He's beautiful. He is, he's a really, really good looking little bull calf and very muscular, very stocky, very, his neck is thick and short. And even at only 3 weeks old, he's just very like burly little guy. But he doesn't have much in between the ears. I think. Oh my gosh, yesterday, he's 3 weeks old. He's been nursing all day, every day for 3 weeks. After I let him out, he ran up to her and he's like bumping her brisket and nuzzling her and trying to suck on her brisket. I'm like, dude, you're at the wrong end of the cow. Like, you know how this works? It's just sometimes not all the neurons are firing in his brain, I think. But he's a sweet little guy. Like I said, he's doing fabulous. Very, very strong, very healthy little one. Apple's doing great. Her milk is delicious right now. I think it's because we are feeding her like copious amounts of apples. Right now we have some my uncle made apple cider, and all the press, you grind it up and you press it to make cider. So all the scraps, we have a big thing of that I'm feeding her. And yeah, eventually, obviously, the apples are going to be done and we're not going to have as many apples to feed her, but it sure makes her milk extra sweet, extra delicious. And our neighbor has just a bajillion apples on the ground. So I don't know if you can hear that truck, but that's loud. I know that there's Jake braking is easier when you're a truck driver, but man, is it loud when they do it. Anyway, so we're going to go see if we can pick up a whole bunch of their apples and just have them in buckets. And, it's getting to the point where they'll keep outside for a while and feed them out to her. Just gives her a little bit of an extra boost. But not to the point where we're like you don't want to give her too much where her body doesn't do the work. Also, I don't think we're doing that, but just give her an extra treat of apples, and we're enjoying the milk a lot. Last night we made eggnog because our chickens are ridiculous. We had an issue with them all summer long, barely giving us any eggs. It's like they molted at weird times. So right now, when they should be molting, I shouldn't say that, but they should be slowing down a little bit more. We are just eggs galore, which is fabulous. I love it because I felt like we rationed eggs all summer because we also had people like customers that regularly bought. So I hated to, and that helps us pay for the feed, so I hated to not sell to them, but then it shorted us. Oh, the joys of farming. So anyway, last night I was like, let's make eggnog when Loretta came in with another couple dozen eggs. So so good. Oh my gosh. If you do not like store-bought eggnog, homemade eggnog is so much better. And in fact, I thought I loved store-bought eggnog. I was like, heck yeah. I mean, I never drank much, like maybe a glass a year, because it's just so, store-bought eggnog is so thick and sweet, like sickeningly sweet. I didn't realize that until I made my own. But like I said, I love the taste of eggnog. I just could never drink very much because it was just so much. And mind you, I do have a sweet tooth, but so it was too sweet, but it was delicious. Anyway, so I started making my own, and I'm like, my goodness, this is so much better. For one, you can control the amount of sugar. Last night we lessened the amount of sugar in the recipe, and it still, I thought, was too sweet. I think we would have the amount of sugar that was in the recipe, and that's the Little House on the Prairie recipe. Super easy. I mean, all it is eggs, milk, cream, which we just use whole milk instead of milk and cream, and sugar and nutmeg. That's it. So delicious. I actually should do a video on that. It's so yummy. And yeah, you have to have good, fresh, high quality eggs to drink it raw without making, there is ways, there's plenty of recipes out there for cooked eggnog, and that's good too. I've done that in the past when I was like not quite sure if I really wanted to do the raw egg route, but last night we had raw egg, raw milk, eggnog. Yum. The kids loved it too. Oh goodness, now it's further in here. I am almost done. I'm getting close to the 3-gallon mark, and that's where we want to be. I do feel like I still need to increase her supply a little bit more. I don't feel like she's quite where she was last year at her lactation, and I'm guessing it's because of the ketosis that can affect it. We do have some new hay. That's a story. I bought some hay we had an online auction in the area. Really, like there's an online auction, and the location of the hay was like literally minutes away, really close. So I saw this auction. It popped up like the day that it was closing. And long story short, I was able to bid on some, and got a crash course in reading hay analysis things. And so that was really interesting because really we just buy hay from a friend, and it's not analyzed or anything like that. It's good hay. So I'm bidding. And if you've ever done an online auction, a lot of them, the last few minutes, if someone bids, they add some time to it. And so my lots I was just at the point where I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm not going to get anything, but I really it was still a really good deal. And our friend that we get hay from doesn't have enough necessarily for us to to supply her farm and ours all winter. So I knew I had to buy some extra hay. So I'm bidding, and I'm realizing, oh man, this lot, like you can bid and you can put a maximum, that you want on that lot. And so this one, I kept bidding, and it instantly would be outbid. And I was like, God, I have a maximum. So I put a maximum on it. Well, and in the meantime, I'm bidding on some other lots. Okay, the lots were like 10 bales, 1,000-pound bales. And I really wanted 2 lots. And long story short, I ended up with 3 lots because I had so many bids going. And then I was like, someone outbid me. And they didn't. And I ended up with 3 lots. But that's 30,000 pounds of hay that I bought for, I don't have to tell you how much, but for less than what I was going to spend on hay, I figured, to get us to the spring. So, and this will last us well into that. So, I mean, I got a fabulous deal on some really, really good hay. So my whole point was, I'm finishing up the hay, and I feel so bad. I called my friend or texted her. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I accidentally bought too much hay. I don't think I'm going to be able to buy from you. At least not completely. I think once this runs out, or, we'll be able to buy, but not like I said I would. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I felt so guilty, but she's like, it's not a big deal. Don't worry about it. It was not my intention. I just wanted to supplement that hay, but things happen. So this is really, really good hay. And, I'm finishing up what we have, and then I'll open that up. And I'm hoping that that will help increase her production as well. So fingers crossed. And my friend's hay is really good. We were just using up her older bales because that's fine with us. We hadn't gotten into her this year's bales, which I'm sure were great. Were wonderful bales. So anyway, hoping once I get her on the other hay, we will increase her production even more. Just a little bit, not a lot. Like this is probably, it's not quite 3 gallons. So I would like to be at the 3-gallon mark every day, which we did last year. So I know it's possible, and I know it doesn't overdo it for her. I don't want to push her too hard. I don't want to ruin her udder or anything like that, or her conformation. I don't want her to lose too much weight. I just know that 3 gallons works with a calf. Last year, she also did have a heifer calf. So the bull calves seem to take more. It's always just a balance game, Anyway, but that is our update for today. I'm going to run this milk into the house, filter it, let Mr. Johnny out of his stall because he's going to break it down now. He says, I'm ready. I need to eat. Thank you for joining me today, and I will see you next time.